Hey everybody, and welcome to this special webinar where we're going to be talking to Mark Ketteman at IBM about the new autumn budget that's just come out. My name's Kyle and I'm the head of marketing at Assimilate. Mark, welcome to the webinar.
Hello.
Thank you so much for jumping on. I know that obviously IBM are doing some amazing things with AI at the minute. One of the things that we've talked about kind of pretty comprehensively as the budget's been coming up is really how can we distill a lot of the information that's in there, because this is like a 152-page document that obviously has been released by the government. And we want to distill it and actually show what it means for businesses. Now, there's loads of commentary out there, and I don't know if you've probably seen it yourself, but everyone's got an opinion on it. Everyone's talking about it. There's left, there's right. I want to kind of cut through all of that and only get to the information that matters for businesses and how it's going to impact them. Because the main focus is anyone that's watching this can then learn how to mitigate some of those impacts as well and just lessen them. So before we get into that, I just want to talk about you and what you do at IBM.
Okay, I'm Mark. I've worked for IBM for a long time. I am in a technical sales team, and my role is to support IBM's business partners, such as Assimilate, with our AI and our business automation capabilities. So I spend most of my time talking to people about AI.
That's brilliant. So we've done a few events together, and I've seen you demo things like this before. So it was a conversation we'd had probably a couple of months ago where we thought, would it be great if we could put this into this AI tool and then get it to give us some really detailed, impactful information that actually makes sense for your business instead of just the general stuff that's out there. So what I wanted to do today was just really demonstrate what you guys have been building over at IBM. Anyone that's watching this can obviously then arrange with us after this session to kind of get their own bespoke version of this. But I think talk me through first kind of what you've done on this and set up for the demo.
Okay, so what we've done is I've taken the autumn statement documentation and I've trained an AI to just look into that documentation in order to answer my questions. I'm not allowing the AI to go anywhere else, so it won't find opinions, it won't find, it won't hallucinate, which is a common term when we're talking about AIs, and it will just answer the questions based on exactly what's in the autumn statement document.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Okay, so I've popped a little web page together just to make it real. So the autumn statement analyst, and here's my AI chat window, and that we'll look at the budget. So I've given it some quick questions so I don't have to type loads of stuff in really, and to make it easy to assess it. So this first one is review the autumn statement, detail the headline changes overall in the statement. So this is to give me a factual summary with no opinions, just a factual summary of the autumn statement. So what it does is it goes away and it reviews the data. That's what this step thing means. It's reviewing the document, and it's come back with all of the details. So in a nice, easy to digest form, a table that I could pull out and put into a presentation, or I could pull out to use it as a document for my own internal use. And it has gone through and picked out all these key headline bits of information about that. I've told the system that I'm a medium-sized retail enterprise with 150 million turnover and 2,000 employees. And so it specifically looked at it from that point of view. And I can see by clicking here that it's looked at 9 different areas within that budget document to pull this information back for me. So next thing I'm going to ask it to do is give me a comprehensive briefing that's relevant to my business. So if we hover over this and click, we can see I'm asking it to include adaptations or risks that are relevant to my business for this statement. I've told it what my business is. And again, it's gone through, it's reviewed the whole document. It knows I'm called Joe Smith. I put that in as my name. This is the information I gave it about my company. And it's coming back with, here are the key changes, relevance, and the actions I might be needed to do. So again, it's running through all of that information for me. It's pulling together a very detailed report. For example, all this capital allowance stuff, required adaptations, who would own those adaptations. So the AI is working all this out for me by looking at this information and its training to see what's the best way to handle what's in the budget documentation. Quite long, And again, you could take that as a basis of a briefing for senior management, or as the beginnings of an action plan for implementing the changes.
Okay. And like you said, this works for any business. So if you, like I say, you put in you're a retail business, you're medium sized, under the 50 million turnover. But again, when you're setting this up, it could be based on any type of business that's out there.
Or you could ask it tell it in the questions. I trained it with that business data so that it was unique to that business that I'd invented. I didn't even give it a name. So it would do that. The last one I've done is, this is AI, but this is agentic AI. That means AI that can do something. So as well as telling me things, it can go do things. So the last button I've set up is to create a plan of action. So what you'll see here when I click is it will go away for a bit longer, and it will think for a bit longer. And you'll see each of these steps is it raising a ticket in my back-end systems. So for example, it could be that I use Jira, ServiceNow, Salesforce, and it's raised action tickets against each of the activities and split that into a set of must-do activities, should-do activities, and so on, and with a planning horizon that says, yeah, we're going to do these within a certain amount of time. So we've raised tickets. These we haven't raised tickets, but we should do them, and we could review them, and it tells me what to do about that. So in the back end, it will have raised those projects effectively, ready for me to take them through the system and through my company's normal procedures.
But like you said, this is, again, things that you've created prior to this, because you don't want to be typing forever. But as you saw in the first instance, you were able to then get deeper into the report itself. So like I say, you've got this action plan, then you could also, like I say, if you've seen something in there and you think that's a should do, but it must be a must do, you can then ask it to go ahead and create that ticket.
Yeah. So I could ask it, how have national insurance contributions changed? So a specific question. And again, it will go through, it will only look at the document, and it will come back and tell me all of the details about how NICs have changed, basically.
Yeah. But I think that's really important to go through, because like I say, there is so much information that's out there. I mean, even just prior to this, just doing the research on the actual document itself, you're flooded with so much information. And I think the unfortunate part is there's probably a little bit of bias, probably a lot of bias really, in a lot of the information that you see in, whereas this is only coming from the document that the government has provided.
Yes, correct. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good. That's really helpful.
Would you like to see under the covers?
Behind the scenes, I like this, yeah.
Okay, so let's look at what this used. It uses a piece of IBM technology called Watson X Orchestrate, which is IBM's agentic platform. And it's designed for normal people to be able to come along and create agents without having deep technical skills. So it's all done through the user interface. So you can see here, I've got the development side of this. This is my build screen. And I've got the elements of my agent that I'm building over here, and this is my playpen where I can try things out as I change them. So I've got a name, Autumn Statement 2025. I've given it a description. That's quite important because it's how AI agents find each other. So I would probably want a much longer name in this particular case if I wanted other agents to find this agent. I've defined what those messages are that were in the starters. One of the things I found with AI agents is sometimes you'll come up to one of these things, you'll click on the button, and it's true for old style AI assistants as well. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to type? So giving a few samples is a really good idea. Right. There's a slightly technical thing here to ask the agent how to behave. I've asked the agent to be thoughtful. So this will think, act, and observe. It will look at the data and it will review it to see if it's answered the question. And if it hasn't, it will look again, and it will do that a few times until it gets the right, a good quality answer. I could add.
I was going to say, with that agent style that you just talked about there, is it a case of you can create as many of those as you want? Do you create a specific one really based around your business? How would that work?
No, there are, in this particular example, there are a couple of agent styles. There's one that's hidden away because it's a bit technical, but they are the ways that the large language models at the back can interact, and so with your messages. So there are different ways of getting the best out of the large language model. So for example, if I chose default, it would probably work absolutely fine in most cases, but it won't reflect on the answers. It will just give you the first thing it finds.
Okay.
So I've chosen this option because I know it goes through a few phases. And there's another option, the one that's hidden, which allows you to actually build a plan. And so that the large language model will be given a plan to work through, which is useful for more sophisticated, more end-to-end business process type approaches. Carrying on, I can add voice to this. I haven't. Not great to demo in this particular setup. With that much data coming back, you wouldn't really want it reading that all out to you. But it's an option for more interactive agents. I've then given it the autumn statement. So this is where I uploaded the autumn statement into the system, and the system automatically does all the work under the covers that makes it available to train the large language model. And I don't need to know how to do that. I just give it the document, and the system will pull that document apart in the correct way, which is called chunking, and it will then embed it in a special database that makes it easy for it to extend the large language model. I'm all hidden away from this. I just load the document in. And then I can give the agent tools. So tools are the agents. It was what gives an agent agency, if you want to think of it that way. It lets it do things. So here I've got an action ticket tool, which I gave it, which is a piece of software that will go away and raise action tickets. And we provide over 800 of these tools out of the box. This is one I wrote to add in. But we provide 800. We also provide 250 pre-built agents that will act on all sorts of different backend systems. I can call other agents. In this case, I didn't need to. And then I can tell it how to behave. So this is the prompt. Okay, so this is what I've told it. I've told it who it is. Start from the top. I've told it what its job is, what it's trying to achieve, what it's meant to do when it's asked for a question. I've given it some slightly technical stuff, which is all about its persona, this Joe Smith character we had earlier. Told it about the business, and I've told it what to do if things don't go quite how expected. Because if you were training a human person to do this job, you'd need to give them the exceptions, what to do if things go wrong. Yeah. And then I've asked it to just do the job. There's a couple of extra things. There's some guidelines in here. I could tell it things like don't swear, maybe. Not that it's going to, but I can make sure it won't. I can give it behavioral activity that will override absolutely everything else that the large language model does. And then I can provide it to different channels. So I can put it out there. So I use this embedded agent, which is a bit technical, but to build a website from it. But I can use Teams, WhatsApp, as you can see, all of these different capabilities, and we're adding new ones every month as ways of using it. So for example, I have clients using Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, as the front end to this agentic system. Okay. There's a lot more to talk about. There's lots of stuff about making it explainable, observable, so you can see what's going on inside the system and so on. But we won't have time today to go into all those details. But if you want more, talk to Assimilate and we can do more.
That's amazing. I was just thinking, as you were talking through some of that information there are probably a lot of industries whereby we've obviously put the budget in there, but you could put any kind of regulatory compliance type of documentation.
Yeah,
and I think because you can ask it and use it as an assistant and ask it those questions and get deep into the content, it'd be very quick to pull those answers out. Yeah,
and a quick win projects have been putting corporate data in, or enterprise data. So for example, HR policies, so that people can ask questions of the HR just from documents and get answers back. You know, what's the disciplinary? This has just happened. What's the accident reporting policy? How do I book a day off? How do I get an employment verification letter to get a mortgage? Things like that, which can be quite a pain to get. And also, and searching intranets is hard, but also it takes a lot of burden off your HR people, so they're not answering those basic trivial questions and they're getting on with it. Yeah. I mean, that does extend to customer facing. So we've got examples of a customer facing agent where customers can come in and troubleshoot the devices that business sells via a chat with an agent like this. So there are lots and lots of different things. The limit is your imagination more than the technology now.
Wow. It's incredible. I mean, I worked in law and accounting for many years, and every budget we would get the inevitable newsletter, and you'd have to almost kind of distill it, and it'd be kind of a few people in a company all trying to figure out what it meant, but it was so generic, the information. It wasn't necessarily tailored to the individual, and that's where the accountancy firm would probably sit down with a company and do all this, but obviously a cost to that. The fact that I think you can have something like this, build it, and get that information straight away, and almost have a little think tank within the business of how is this going to affect the finance team, how is it going to affect operations, how is it going to impact our sales going forward over the next year, 3 years, for example. This looks incredible. Yeah. Well, like I say, Matt, thank you so much for coming on and talking us through that. I know it was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I suppose the next kind of step for a lot of people is we'll put a link in the description of this video, and then obviously book a session, come on and look at how we can create something like this that's bespoke to your own business. So if you want to know a little bit more about this, please check the description. In the meantime, thank you, Mark, for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Carl. Bye now.